ones and bad ones. We need to learn stuff about the world. We need an honest, intelligent, thought-provoking, and entertaining review of what the hell happened on this planet in the last 7 days. We need to sit back and listen to the Iron Fist and the Velvet Glove.
Listener, don't worry about the last 7 days. Worry about the last 11 years, because we're up to episode 500. It's taken 11 years, but we've made it. And
I had hair back then.
Yeah, I didn't have grey hair back then. Yes.
Yeah, my hair was a different colour too.
I'm Trevor, a.k.a. the Iron Fist, over there in regional Queensland. He used to be 11 years ago in Mount Gravatt.
Mm-hmm.
But
I've since sold that
Queensland.
house.
Yes. Scott, the Velvet Glove. Scott.
G'day, Trevor. G'day, Joe. G'day, listeners. Hope everyone's doing well.
And from what was Peter Dutton's electorate, Joe the Tech Guy. Hello, Joe.
Evening all.
Yes. So 500 episodes. We will be reflecting on thoughts about what's happened over the last 11 years and what might happen in future. A little wander down nostalgia lane, memory lane. A self-indulgent episode, perhaps, but after 500, we've earned the right, I think. What I do want to do, before I talk about anything, is what I always forget to do, or just plainly don't do, is a big shout out to the patrons. So, dear listener, they don't get any mention. Sometimes on some podcasts, they rattle through the patrons and say thank you very much, and do that every week or very regularly. And I haven't been doing that for a long time.
We've got so many.
Yes. And, well, because these patrons are tough, and they also they just do it for love. It's a one-way street, that love. Well, they don't need the personal recognition. They just want to support the podcast. And, dear listener, for those of you who are not patrons, these people have been supporting you because they've been chipping in, and their money has been helped to pay for all of the expenses, which used to be there. I used to buy a lot of audio-visual equipment. Like when we were in pre-COVID days and we would meet at my house, we had wires, cameras, sound desks, all sorts of stuff everywhere. It seemed like every week I'd turn around and I needed another cord of some sort or whatever. So these days, this Restream service, that costs a few $100s a year, Descript for transcript and other stuff and other expenses, hosting, blah, blah. Anyway, they do it so it doesn't, I can show you it doesn't make much money, but at least it covers the cost. So starting from the most recent sign-on, and the most recent sign-on, now these are active. If your name isn't called, it's because somewhere along the track, your credit card stopped working. And as far as Patreon is concerned, you haven't been being charged at the most recent time. So if you thought you were a patron, and I don't mention your name, you're not. So the most recent one who's active is Noel Hamilton, who signed up on the 22nd of March, 2024. Maybe I should have been mentioning patrons more often. Maybe people would
Potentially, yeah.
Yes. There's probably people out there going, what? These guys have a Patreon page? So, yeah, it is in the show notes. Anyway, I'll run through them from Noel. Paige, Damien Van Schneidel, Obrad Puskarika. Obrad sent a message the other day. Good on you, Obrad. Noisy Andrew, also known as Hardy Meeple. Mark Clavel, Rico, Greg P, Shannon Legg, Matt Dwyer, Sue Cripp, James Lean. He's got the most fabulous moustache, if you've still got that moustache, James. Wayne, Virgil, Craig Ball, Yam Yam Blue, Zambuck, David Copley. Happy birthday today, David. John in Dire Straits is probably in the chat room. I think he's there. Yes, John, yes. You originally signed up, John, on the 19th of November 2019 at 11:58. Camille, Paul Waper. Good on you, Paul. Hope you're still going well in Canberra. Alexander, Alan, Matthew, Glenn Bell, Professor Dr. Dentist, Melinda, Murray Waper. Murray, you've been with us since 14th of April 2019. Peter Gillespie, Gavin S., Daniel Curtin, Liam McMahon. Liam. Kane Birch. Jimmy Spud has been on and off again with us over the years, and he started with us, Jimmy, April 2018. Tony Wall, Steve Shinners, Alison. Alison goes back to 28th of December 2017. Left Whinger, Craig Glasby, who is also AKA Deep Throat and was in the Secular Party with us. Craig joined as a patron 22nd of March 2017. And the oldest and the longest, Janelle Louise, 17th of December 2016. Good effort, Janelle. So thank you to all those people who basically from me get the full show notes each week. And my once every couple of years mentioning of their name. So thank you. We're going to, at the end of this, tell you what we're going to be doing, which is probably not much for a while. Like, I need a break. There may not be a podcast for a few months, and I don't know what will happen. But the good part about being a patron is you only get charged when we actually produce something. So you might as well just hang in there. And if I do come out with another episode, then it's not one of those ones where you sort of have to pay $5 a month or a week or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Which is good because otherwise I'd feel forced to do something. So thank you to the patrons. Much appreciated. And, gentlemen, thoughts generally. I have this opening statement to make, which is I started this podcast hoping the USA could keep the crazy mullahs in Iran under control. 500 episodes later, and I hope Iran can keep the crazy American regime under control. I really wouldn't have thought that was possible a couple of years ago.
No, I personally don't think it's healthy for the world to show its appreciation towards Iran and forget what they've actually done to their population.
What have they done? You see, my position now is I don't know what is true about regimes, governments.
It's a theocratic regime.
It's a theocratic regime that apparently, okay, according
yes, but you could say the American regime is a theocratic regime. Have you seen the prayers that the Secretary of War has been saying at the Pentagon?
It's getting closer to it, I would agree, but I don't know that it is quite there yet.
I don't know if a crazy Iranian mullah looking at Pete Hegseth giving his prayers at the Pentagon, quoting not the Bible, but in fact a Pulp Fiction version of the Bible. I don't know that that's any less crazy theocratic than anything some Iranian mullah might be coming out with.
Well, but under Obama, it wasn't like this. Under George W., it wasn't like this. Under Bill Clinton, it wasn't like this. Even under George H.W., it wasn't like this. Even under Ronald Reagan, it wasn't like this. It's just...
Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't.
They were killing people. They were bombing people. They were bombing... Obama bombed, what, 7 countries?
They didn't actually do it saying this is all in God's name or anything like that, like they do now.
The thing about Trump is it's so overt now and so shameless and so open. And so, yes, we're going to take the oil, and yes, we're just going to wipe out the civilization. And so his statements are more honest, not in an endearing way, but the kind of stuff that used to be done hush hush, unacknowledged, is now in the open. I think, but it's like China and how it was the evil communist empire.
Yeah, I mean, I have certainly changed my position on China a hell of a lot.
Yeah, And even Tiananmen Square, like we did an episode on that, where really a lot of what's been thought of Tiananmen Square is just not the case. So I look at other stuff and I go, I look at Twitter footage now of Iranian women walking through markets in Iran. They're not wearing the burqa. They don't have to. Some do, some don't. But what we've been told
to cover their hair, though.
No, they don't have to. And you can see them walking through public areas, and I'm sure it varies depending on different parts of the country, maybe more conservative than others. But I'm just at the point where I don't know what to believe. I'm sure they're doing some bad things, but how much, how regularly, what's actually going on? I don't know what to believe now. I'm very skeptical.
I can understand that point of view, but where would you rather live, here or in Iran?
Well, because it's being bombed at the moment, I clearly wouldn't want to live in Iran
now. But even if it wasn't being bombed, would you prefer to live in Iran or in Australia?
But what sort of argument is that?
It's just one of those things. I was just asking a simple question. Where would you prefer to live? Would you prefer to live in Iran or would you prefer to live in Australia? Now, this is assuming you don't have family or anything else. Where would you prefer to live?
Of course I'd prefer to live in Australia.
Hmm.
But what does that prove? Like when a country when a country has been strangled by forces beyond its control, then it's unfair to say, oh, geez, clearly you wouldn't want to live there.
No, that's true.
So it's not really a useful argument to say, where would you rather live when one of those places has been subjected to a violent invasion and bombing and constricting sanctions. So, yeah. I'll just keep going with some ideas. With that one, just as an example of how have your thoughts changed over the years, maybe on topics. So, certainly that sort of Middle East thing's changed. You mentioned China has changed for you, Scott, your view on China.
Yeah,
Joe, anything? Has your mind changed drastically about anything from the young man that you were 11 years ago, Joe?
Definitely Israel.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Israel has changed.
I mean, I was never a huge fan of the US, but I never thought it would get quite this bad. Yeah, China, I don't know. I really don't remember what my point of view was back in the day.
My position on Vladimir Putin and Russia has not changed at all.
And your position on the Greens hasn't changed either, Scott.
No, exactly. I was reading something today on Crikey that was they're interviewing Matt Chandler Mather, whatever his name is.
Yes.
And he sort of made some sense there. But anyway, it's just one of those things. Anyway, but
I'll read another paragraph.
Like I said to you a little while ago, beauty of living in Australia is a secret ballot, so I don't have to tell you who I eventually end up voting for.
Well, there is that.
Yes.
But yeah, I agree. My view on the Greens has changed. I used to think that they were vaguely well-intentioned but misunderstood the science. And now I'm not so sure. I mean,
in what way? For the better or for the worse? Is your impression improved or not?
Oh, it's definitely improved. I voted for them a couple of times, but it was more historically they seem to be anti-vax, anti-GMO, anti-all sorts of the fringe conspiracy of the left. And they now seem to be much more just social democrats.
They got rid of that woo element, perhaps. Yeah.
Or at least it's not as obvious.
Yeah. What else have I got in my notes here as I was thinking about things? I was thinking, I used to like exploring ideas because I thought you could persuade people. I realise now that you can preach to the converted and arm comrades with facts and arguments, but genuine conversion is very rare.
Yeah.
Anybody want to disagree with that? Oh, you back?
No. Yeah, Scott had a blip.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the science has become more solid on changing minds, and you can't change somebody's mind. And if people are not willing, are not curious about what they believe, so they believe because they belong to a tribe, and belonging to the tribe is more important than the truth, they're not going to change. And so you have to make them more interested in finding out what the truth is. But if they're not, it's known as doxastic openness. And if they're not doxastically open, they're not willing to change, then there's no point arguing.
And I would say, compared to 11 years ago, I think people are. I have less optimism of people being open to change now than I might have had then. I used to think I could convince people of things, but now I just know I can't.
It's not helped by the polarization. Social media particularly has been awful on this. That people are not willing to mix with opposing viewpoints.
Yes. Well,
It's very true. The polarization is starting to creep in the way it is. The way it's already overtaken in the US, it's starting to creep in over here. And you can see that, I am surprised at some of the people that are good friends of mine up here that they fell for that Channel 7 Spotlight report, hook, line and sinker on the renewable energy stuff.
Oh, the lithium batteries, or
they were
cobalt, wasn't it?
Yeah. They, and although I tried to explain to that cobalt is only used in mobile phone batteries and laptop batteries, it's not used in the same sort of batteries that I've got in my garage. They wouldn't have it. They were convinced that they saw this thing and everything like that. And I pointed out to them that the guy used to be a BP executive. There was in
the journalist.
I couldn't see it. It was either the guy that was presenting it or what have you. He used to be a BP spokesperson for communications or something like that. So he was just out there trotting out the same old tired lies that they've been trotting out for 40 years.
Yes, he had connections to that industry. I can't remember exactly what, but it was a classic example of, you have to say, well, the person presenting this, what is their conflict of interest, if any? And then, but people don't do that.
No.
Yeah, I have to say my eyes have been opened in the last 5 years about the press lying to us.
Yeah, exactly.
I used to have a lot more faith in mainstream media. And whilst generally I think that they're still better than the alternatives, they are very much filtering what we get to see and what we get to hear about. And there are certain narratives that just don't get any airtime.
I think Gaza has been damning for mainstream media. Even the ABC and The Guardian and other outlets like that, who should be reporting that war properly, not. So I think Gaza has exposed those guys badly. But yeah, I agree. 11, 12 years ago, I was getting a lot more mainstream articles and things from that. And honestly now, I rarely look at The Guardian, and occasionally look at ABC News. I find it so lame, so shallow, and a regurgitation of government talking points, whether they're Australian government or whatever. And I do read the Courier Mail every day for the fun of it, like as a critique, as I open it up on my tablet and just go, what are these fuckwits doing today?
Patrons, you're funding Trevor's News Corps.
You are. But I do read it every day, and And it just astounds me at what a propaganda rag it is. So there's change in us. Got a comment here. Well, just in my notes. Originally, we spoke a lot about religion. I knew we weren't going to convert anyone. I thought that maybe we could alert atheists to the danger that religion poses to our society and remove some of their privileges. But things just got worse. Do you guys remember the religious discrimination bill?
Jesus Christ, that's a blast from the past, isn't it?
Multiple discussions about that. It's a bit of a lead up to the Jewish sort of anti-Semitism, isn't it? It was a concocted story of religious groups being discriminated against and conjuring up an act of parliament that would grant them special privileges.
Well, that was on the back of the marriage equality bill, wasn't it?
Yes, because it was done. Turnbull, I think, offered it to his right-wing colleagues as compensation for the marriage equality bill. So they said, well, we know you don't like voting for this, but we'll give you this religious discrimination bill stuff. And that went on and on and on. Multiple sort of stakeholder interest inquiries and all the rest of it, multiple discussions. At least there was a discussion in the community for several years, I think, Scott, that went on. Like, it seemed to go on for a long time. And yet the local Queensland government passed discrimination laws dealing with anti-Semitism and all done in a flash without any consultation. Like, that's how things have changed in 11 years. I actually, at the time, dear listener, had a secular index. I basically went through and tried to Google every federal politician to figure out what religion they were, and started an index and tried to keep track of a surprisingly high. Well, no, not surprisingly high. The percentage of politicians that are religious was a lot higher than the general population. Couldn't keep that one going. What else did we have about that? Probably at that time, Scott, it became apparent how captured the Liberal Party was becoming, where we became aware of these branches being stacked by fundamentalists.
Yeah. And we can see the results of that takeover now. You've got, 30 or 40 members of parliament or something like that, but more than 2/3 of them are religious fundamentalists.
Yep. And the caliber of politician that's getting through
is going backwards
in the safe Liberal seats is a pretty poor politician, because they've had to appeal to these sort of hardline Christian groups who've infiltrated the Liberal Party.
Yeah.
And I think to stack a branch in the Liberal Party, you needed maybe 300 votes or something like that. And some of these church groups are able to mobilise hundreds of people very quickly and say to them, sign up to the Liberal Party, this branch here, because you live in the right district, pay your fee. You don't have to do anything until the pre-selection meeting, when you will attend, and have your mobile phone open and ready, and we'll tell you how to vote. And these Liberal Party regulars would say, we go to these meetings every month, never saw anybody, and then all of a sudden, kaboom, the place was filled with people they'd never seen before. But they were genuinely registered Liberal Party members. And that, dear listener, has caused the demise of the Liberal Party in Australia. The biggest cause of their demise. Nobody talks about it, except us. You heard it here first and last.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. I can see that the Liberal Party will be around for at least 2, maybe 3 more terms, but after that, it's cactus.
In the chat room, Alison says, good evening, Dire Straits. Wants a Chinese base next door to Pine Gap. That would be interesting. They could have their own demilitarised zone, yes. And he thinks the Wu and the Greens are still there. Liam, congratulations. Thank you, Liam. And Alison Azair says, I watched the swearing in of federal parliament to see who held a Bible or not. That's one way of doing it. Scott, we used to talk a lot about the Trans-Pacific Partnership, these free trade agreements where under them there would be these investor-state dispute resolution clauses which basically allowed multinational companies to dictate policy. Governments couldn't close a mine if it meant that a multinational would then make less money, and that would be a breach of the investor-state dispute clause.
Or couldn't put plain packaging on cigarettes.
Indeed. And we have an arsehole like Clive Palmer shifts his company to Singapore to take advantage of such a clause.
Allegedly.
Runs for parliament, and people don't raise these things. And he just gets away without paying a price of shame for these sorts of things. Scott, if I had $1 for every time we said submarines on this podcast,
You'd be a very rich man.
Apparently France is willing to step up if the AUKUS agreement falls through.
really?
Yes.
Well, I mean, it was clear from the get-go that we were making huge mistakes with submarines. And I just would have thought once Labor got into power, they would have said, this is a load of nonsense. But they approved the whole AUKUS deal within 24 hours. Shameful.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just obvious to anybody who looked at the facts and the arguments that it was a bad idea. Yet these guys signed up for it. Why?
Because they've got a guaranteed job at the end of it, working for whichever firm lobbied.
Yep. And because a guy like Richard Marles is captured, but he happens to somehow be the leader of the right within the Labor movement, and Albanese had to do a deal with the right so he could get in power, and as part of that had to agree to a lot of the things they wanted. So a dickhead like Richard Marles with a fascination for America and a love is able to dictate so much money, so much resources when everybody knows it's a terrible idea. This is where democracy fails, gentlemen.
In your downtime, Trevor,
Yes.
I suggest you go off and watch Team America, which you've yet to see.
What is Team America? What is it?
Have you ever seen it?
What is it?
It's South Park's take on Joe 90, whatever the puppets were. Thunderbirds ago?
Oh, yeah. I used to watch the Thunderbirds as a kid. So they do a takeoff of that.
Yes.
Sort of.
With Team
And
America.
how will that help me? Oh, right. Okay. That will help me.
I
It's
think
got some very funny lines in it. It's absolutely hysterical when they said, what happened? Intelligence, what happened here? The base was attacked by a giant socialist weasel. And then we're talking about, who's that fat bloke? Anyway, he's an American guy. Yeah.
That's good. Liam says, France being ready to jump on AUKUS sounds like a classic Joe joke. AUKUS becomes Faucus. Good.
Well, I already said it was misspelled. I think it's you sucker.
Yeah.
Because they sat there laughing at us.
Liam, just a question. Is your email still at qao.qld.gov?
Wait.
No, don't know his surname.
Right, okay.
Or at the UQ Connect email. Which one would you prefer to receive an email from before?
All right, well, okay. We spoke a lot about negative gearing, capital gains, private school fees, private health fees, superannuation rorts, multinationals offshoring profits.
MRRT?
What?
The Minerals Resource Rent Tax?
Yes, minimal mining royalties.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing has changed
Nope.
on any of that. They're clearly things that need to be done. Nothing's changed, although it does look like maybe something's going to happen in the next budget with capital gains.
It does
Maybe.
look like it.
Given the amount of
No.
fear mongering that's going on from the real estate industry, it does seem likely, yes.
We'll see. But all of these things are clearly structural issues causing massive problems for our economy. And also on that mining royalties, David Pocock has been very good in the Parliament in Senate inquiries.
Well, did you see Punters Politics
Yes.
gave evidence at the commission, the Senate hearing?
Yep. So they've been doing some work there. So who knows? If you are optimistic, you might think that suddenly this Labor government will remember it is a Labor government and actually do some things, but I wouldn't hold out hope. So,
It might fiddle at the edges how much sensible change, core change, I don't know.
Gentlemen, COVID was an eye-opening experience.
Never heard of it. What's that?
Yes. Social responsibility was forced onto people who had cherished individual freedom. Medical studies were dishonestly misrepresented. COVID required nuanced thinking about multiple factors, and many people who didn't like the answer resorted to denial of expertise and adoption of YouTube guru theories. So COVID was definitely a turning point in Australian society, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the shooting of Desi Freeman, and apparently people have said he was semi-rational up until COVID, but he lost the plot at that point.
I can't remember Desi Freeman. What's Desi Freeman?
He was the guy who was shot last month. He shot a couple of cops 9 months ago, 10 months ago, was on the run.
Right.
Down in Victoria. And
okay.
then they found where he was holed up, and basically he came out doing Ned Kelly.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it spawned a whole sort of new group of vaccine deniers and flat earth believers.
Yeah, one of my sister-in-laws has become a COVID vaccine denier.
Yes. And so there was a movement that denied fundamental science and did their own research.
With no understanding of what research means.
Correct. These people, there's a limit to doing your own research. And often these people fell over at just the basic statistics level. Like when you go to university, pretty much most degrees have some sort of statistics element in them, or a lot do, where you just understand some basic stats. And I just know when arguing with people about COVID, and boy, did I do some arguing about medical studies, or an idiot like Rowan Dean on Sky News would come out and say, well, here's this study. And it was a good training exercise in that, okay, well, let's find the study. Let's go and look. How many participants were in it? There were 45 participants in the study. Well,
as many as that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's completely meaningless. So, Scott, I was just saying that COVID was a turning point in Australian society and how
it was, absolutely.
our society operates. And it spawned a sort of American-style denial of expertise, I think, whereas previously we had some faith in our educated professional class experts. If the CSIRO said something previously, we kind of said
their advice.
That will probably be right, or we wouldn't even, on a basic science issue, we'd go, okay, well, that's the science. But
I wonder how much of this was the tobacco industry and then the fossil fuel industry shouting down science and denigrating science, which has led to this mistrust in society as a whole. because tobacco and fossil fuel industries were huge amounts of money spent basically muddying the waters about science and going, well, here's our pet scientist that says the exact opposite, and sowing that mistrust amongst the population of science as a whole, I think has done society a disservice.
Yeah. Liam says there's a good podcast episode from Decoding the Gurus that tangentially related to this. A lot of radicalization occurs when people are distressed/lost. That is true. People, and that's the American experience where the middle class disappeared. People are lashing out, migrants anywhere.
People want simple answers. They don't want complicated answers. And if you say it's all their fault, that's a simple answer.
And people are not used to arguing and discussing and conversing on complicated issues of our social relationships and our politics and our ideas, because when you go to a dinner party, do you guys go to dinner parties anymore? But, you're told, you don't talk about news and politics, sex and religion, which is what this podcast is about, where we say you need to talk about these things. And I think people are very unskilled, unpracticed at talking about stuff, abstract ideas. People are often just not very good at it.
I loved debating at school. I loved being given the opportunity. And my teacher used to literally say, right, what do you think about this? Okay, you're arguing the opposite point. It was this challenge to your fundamental beliefs.
Yes.
Which I think was important. And there are so many people that just don't have that background. And an attack on their beliefs is an attack on them, and they cannot handle having their ideas challenged.
Indeed. Yeah. Being able to play devil's advocate.
Yes.
And see the other person's point of view. Yeah. Some people struggle with that. Lots of people do.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a skill that needs to be taught, and it generally isn't.
Yeah. So Trump was the warning that the USA was in trouble. And for me, COVID was the big warning that all was not well in Australian society for me. And if COVID was the warning for us, then I think Gaza is the proof. I just think that the whole Gaza issue shows that we are not a serious society. It should be front page news every day. There should be mass protests. It's an atrocity that is being filmed. The cruelty is beyond any justification, and yet virtually nothing. And, if you'd have said to me 11 years ago that the sort of atrocities that are happening could take place and for years and virtually nothing would be said about it, I would have been shocked. But that's where we're at. It's incredible. I have to go into places like Twitter now to sort of see the footage that the mainstream media refuses to show. And to get proper commentary on it, you have to go to independent blogs where you'll get actual people making the proper statements that should be said. So much of it is sanitized, there'll be a headline, attack on primary school causes 150 lives to expire, when really it should have been those fucking Israelis purposefully, and this actually was the Americans at the Israeli insistence, dropped a bomb on a school. Well, this is moving on to Iran now, intentionally, and the people who did it have been, their arms have been replenished and they're firing more without any inquiry as to how this happened. No, complete silence. That's sort of, Gaza is kind of breaking me, dear listener, on this podcast thing, in that what is the point of having to argue or persuade when there's something so obvious? and yet nothing is done, you sort of think, my goodness, or we just got to wait for some collapse to happen for anything to change. So, for me, Gaza is proof that our society has been hijacked by vested interests who can manufacture consent for anything. Well, I mean, our Australian society is consenting to this. Our leaders consented to it. Albanese, Labor government, Prime Minister, when I say Gaza now, I'm saying Gaza and Iran now because it's the most recent one in my mind, but jumped on board in support of what the Americans were doing.
Well, but even the whole Ben Roberts-Smith thing.
Yes.
Yeah, just the divisiveness of that. And surely it's just it shouldn't be questioned that somebody who is alleged to have committed war crimes should be arrested and tried for that. Why is that controversial?
Exactly. Yes. And I've seen Facebook posts by people who are ex-military who are supporting him. And we've mentioned it before, but why aren't you supporting the 29 fellow SAS officers who said he's a prick?
Well, whether or not he's a prick doesn't matter. It's whether or not he committed the crime.
Well, there's a bunch of them who testified that he did some very nasty things worthy of this sort of investigation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But people have jumped onto some tribe of...
Yeah, support our servicemen no matter what.
Yes. That's the patriotic thing to do.
Well,
totally ignoring...
I was going to say no worse than America passing a law saying that if any Americans are prosecuted for war crimes, they're going to invade The Hague.
Yes.
Which, again, beggars belief.
Yes. And Shay, David McBride, jailed. Where are the calls for his freedom? Indeed. Yep. So he was the whistleblower on the
Brereton report.
Yes. And then, we've got another Aussie who has been accused of training...
the pilot.
Yes. And that poor guy is wallowing in a maximum security prison, and the evidence doesn't stack up for him. And yet our government seemingly is going to hand him over to the Americans.
And the other problem is it'll be in a closed court because we can't possibly hear the evidence against him and know whether or not it's a stitch-up.
Yes. But,
and again, what's his name? The journalist, the hacker. Blonde hair?
Yes. Oh, God, name's escaping me now. Julian
Assange.
Yes. What a saga that was.
Yeah. Arrested for committing a crime against America as a non-US citizen, not resident in America.
Yes, indeed.
And a journalist. Yeah, whether or not you agree with what he leaked. And actually it sounds like, was it him? Or was that...
Are you looking at Alison's comment?
No. One of them was he was pressured for a book to give the password to the encrypted file that was his keepsafe, was shared on the internet, but was encrypted. And the journalist pressured him for the password and then put it in the book.
Yes, that was
so.
Assange.
All these, that was it.
Yeah, and again, shameful behaviour by the Guardian on that one. So, they say they're a left-wing friendly outfit, but only when it suits them. They dropped Assange. They have not reported Gaza appropriately at all. So, no respect for the Guardian. Yes. So Twitter and independent blogs, for me, are the places for information. I was looking through the very early episodes, and the second episode we ever did, John Menadue blog I was reading from. So that continues to be a great resource. And Yeah. So along the way, a couple of victories were the marriage equality. Was that after we? Was marriage equality after we started?
Yeah, I'm fairly sure it was.
Yep.
It was fairly early on because I think it was episode 8 or 18, something like that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And voluntary assisted dying. They
Mm.
would be the two things of significance that you could
And
point to.
Queensland abortion law, I'm fairly sure.
Yes, you are correct, Joe. Abortion law as well would be the other one.
I'm
So,
not sure how much longer that's got left to live, actually, because you've got the LNP and that sort of stuff in power in Queensland, and my
Well-
local member up here said that he had to vote with Care Australia's party to get right with God. You know?
right. Yeah.
Well, God, what's his name? The Premier has said that he wouldn't touch it, at least in this term.
Correct. He's put it off limits.
And hopefully he's not going to be around for a second term.
I think you'd get at least 2 turns out of it.
You reckon? I'm not so sure.
Well, I hope you're right, but I just think to myself that there's no real scandals or anything around him or anything else. Adult crime for adult time for adult crime, that seems to be winning with the punters, although it doesn't really work.
Well, exactly. I think people are saying you've been spouting all this stuff and nothing has changed.
So a victory on voluntary assisted dying, abortion laws, and marriage equality, kind of soft social issues that don't involve money is how I would describe them.
So you're saying you don't have a well-funded opponent,
Joe,
other than the church.
Joe, you're reading my mind, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was mentioning all those other things before, which was sort of economic things in terms of capital gains, mining royalties, blah blah blah. There and the other issues we've been talking about with Gaza and whatnot. Those issues where there's been no change, there has been a well-funded, monetised lobbying group thwarting any progress. Now, marriage equality, abortion laws, and what was the third one that we mentioned there? They had the churches against them, but there wasn't sort of a moneyed interest from the top 1% opposing it, and I think that's the difference.
I have to say I'm still shocked that Rudd was deposed by a mining-run scare campaign that persuaded the average Australian that it was in their worst interest, the MRRT.
I think that what led to Rudd's downfall was the fact that he wasn't prepared to take the carbon CPRS, the carbon pollution reduction scheme, to an election. Had he have actually called a snap poll, I think he would have won. And then they could have had a joint sitting of Parliament to ram it through. But I just think to myself that he got spooked, and Gillard took control because apparently he'd lost it. So yeah, it's just one of those things. Like, Gillard's government wasn't a bad government, really.
Yeah. So certainly from where I was 11 years ago, I had no idea of the power of lobbying and how it was distorting.
Oh, God, yeah. Absolutely.
Did you have any idea of the power of the Zionist lobby, Scott?
No, I didn't. And,
that's been eye-opening.
What's been really eye-opening for me is having those teal independents in Parliament and David Pocock. They are really taking them to task over lobbyists. And that is a really good thing. And, you know, that Greens inquiry into taxing gas companies and all that sort of stuff. You had a bloke, whatever his name is, can't think of his name, but the guy that does the Punters Politics podcast. You know, he was up there. Yes, that's it. He said if you want to restore faith in Australian democracy, you've got to stop the revolving door between Parliament and the outside world for jobs, you know, and everything that guy said made perfect sense. But it's not going to get anywhere because Albanese's already killed the whole idea and that sort of stuff. He doesn't want to pick a fight with the gas giants.
Yeah. Yeah. We've had some characters along the way. Jordan fucking Peterson.
Oh,
There's somebody who just
me.
came along and talked and then went really quite Christian in the end.
Yeah.
And, took a real religious turn. We had things like Israel Folau.
Yes.
A lot of time was spent on Israel Folau and what he wanted.
And the persecution of the poor Christian.
That's it, yes. So that was all around that time. I'm just going to run through a few of the topics. I was just saying to the guys before we started that on the 4th of July, when we started, our topics were Islam, gay marriage, special religious education teachers, Tony Abbott, George Brandis, Nick Kyrgios, people smuggling, and a Greek crisis of some sort.
That was the Greek financial crisis.
Yeah, maybe that was it. Yes. Then Noel Pearson was a guy right in the very beginning that we, on our episode 3, we're talking about him and his call for the voice. So we were onto that at the very earliest of stages. Then
You didn't manage to convince me to vote no in that voice referendum. So
I did or did not.
No, you didn't.
Right.
Yeah.
No. Well, there you go. So I know. I don't. I know I can't convince anybody of anything.
Oh,
It's
yes.
just one of those things. I could understand where you were coming from and everything else.
Yeah.
I don't believe it was fair that Cameron Riley referred to you as racist.
No, he didn't call me racist. He said I should be ashamed or something like that. Shameful.
Well, whatever
something
it
like
was.
that. Yes. Yeah.
Whatever it was, I didn't think his criticism of you was fair.
Yes.
But where was I headed with all that? I voted for my own reasons, but I also voted yes because I felt that was the right thing to do.
Yes. Do you know that in episode 5 on the 21st of July, we were talking about the Iran nuclear deal and how it seemed like a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
At the time.
And had Trump not torn it up, I think the Iranians would have actually stepped away
Well, it
from
was a
trying to
shitty
build a
deal.
bomb.
Trump could have negotiated a better deal.
Yeah.
Just look how he's done so far.
He's done a brilliant job so far, hasn't he? He's really fucked the whole world economy up.
Yep.
And I don't think he gives a shit because America is self-sufficient in oil.
Well, but also, have you not seen the allegations that there've been a whole bunch of suspicious stock trades 5 minutes before he makes his announcement?
Absolutely. It's one of those things. I just think to myself that
He's making a killing on it.
He's making a killing on it. He's a prick.
Yeah. Episode 7, we were discussing Julia Gillard sucking up to the Australian Christian lobby. There was a video at the time of her promising them all sorts of stuff. So that wasn't a good start by her.
No.
Had us worried. Going to scramble through some things here. On the 19th of August, I had in my notes, Scott Morrison, if given a chance, this Pentecostal will take the country even further to the religious right.
Mm-hmm.
That was a prediction then.
Exactly that.
Yeah, that one came through. 2nd of September, we were talking about Tony Abbott and the Christian right and the sort of Tea Party connections. So really the sort of Tea Party takeover of the Republican Party we were saying was happening in the Liberal Party at that time, which is...
And now we say, bring back the Tea Party. They're 10 times better than MAGA.
The good old days.
Yes.
Yeah. Christine Keneally. There was all the human rights roundtable with religious freedom stuff. What else do we have?
Oh no, I might have to cope with gay people. How could I possibly cope?
Yes.
My poor Christian fifis might get hurt.
Yeah. I made some highlights here. Oh, we talked about Stan Grant a lot. Stan was banging on. I think he had the wrong idea on many occasions. He was a character who got mentioned a lot. Negative gearing got mentioned a lot. What else have I got here? I've got some highlighted such. Spent a lot of time on neoliberalism, Margaret Thatcher, the whole sort of background to that, submarines. See what else I got here. School funding. Spent a lot of time on that. It's still not discussed enough how much
Gonski too, wasn't it?
How much Australia pays towards private school fees is unheard of in the rest of the world, but completely normalised here.
Well, no, I mean there are other countries like I think Singapore that
Right.
have high rates of private education. So we're not particularly.
Does the government
unusual.
fund it though?
I can't remember.
Even back in 2016, we were talking about Venezuela. There we go. There was a lot of stuff about, remember Yasmin Abdul Majid?
Ooh.
The old sort of controversy where Lionel Shriver had talked at a book writers festival, and there was this whole talk about cultural appropriation.
Yes,
And
because
and
she'd
how-
written a book as a Muslim woman or something.
Well, Abdul Majid was just saying that unless you have the lived experience of the character,
Yes.
you couldn't write about it. And, you know, Lionel Shriver was making a pretty fair argument that that's the whole point of using your imagination and writing is to put yourself in someone else's shoes and
Yes,
be able to write. And so
because if
we
it's
spent
not
a lot
a
of time
biography,
So we spent a lot of time bagging the left in terms of things like cultural appropriation and identity politics, which were really looking at these tiny segments of society and trying to come up with policies that would benefit them, but ignoring class issue from my point of view anyway. I felt that the left then and even now focuses too much on identity issues and subgroups rather than the class issues of poverty and class. So that was a theme running through a lot of episodes. And I think what other stuff do you guys want to talk about? Anything in particular? Really, I think it's come down to, you know, we discussed the Christian evangelical movement in America and their 7 mountains,
yeah,
where they were really looking at, you know, the media, politics, schools, various other influential segments of society and saying, if you really want to control society and direct it, then you need to control these institutions within
and
society.
they've succeeded, haven't they?
And they succeeded. And you can see that this incredible Israel lobby has done that effectively as well, in that they've placed people in key media positions. Like the BBC, any reporting on Gaza basically had to run through one guy, and he was a real pro-Zionist guy. And any voice that was critical of Israel just wasn't getting through. And that was one man dominating the entire BBC coverage of what was going on there. Multiply that by any number of other media outlets. And while the Christian lobby, Joe, has been effective, boy, oh boy, the Israeli lobby has been effective. So, yes.
John wants to point out you lost a schooner.
And along the way, I did lose a beer on where the
North Korean
Koreans
troops in Russia.
in Ukraine. Yes. Can't be right all the time. So yeah, as I look at things, I just see still, even though not many people buy Murdoch newspapers, the Murdoch press still dominates the thinking in this country. And
I think the demographics they reach are the loudest / the power makers. It's the business owners and it's the retirees and possibly the politicians.
Yep. So our key institutions, media-wise, are completely captured and hopeless. Well, and not only hopeless, but they're actually working actively against our best interests. So my advice to you, dear listener, is keep searching out independent creators and be skeptical about them. Like, don't fall for the next internet YouTube guru that you come across, because there's so many just speaking shit, but people with a track record over time. So I still really like Caitlin Johnston. Still really like the John Menadue blog. Like, I think actually that publication has got a chance of doing something really substantial for our society over the next 10, 20 years. I think
Crikey seems to have fallen out of your favour.
Yes, not getting as much from Crikey as I was. It's okay. But yeah, I guess I just wasn't getting as much from them. But I wouldn't. I would still put Crikey as a worthwhile subscription, I would say.
Thinking there was the trial of Pell.
Ah, yes, Cardinal Pell.
I was still very surprised that he was convicted. Now, I know he had his conviction overturned.
Yep. And I mean, that was one where actually, as much as I'm against the church and whatnot and suspicious of people within the church, you could understand people querying that decision.
The conviction?
Yeah, the conviction, yes. Right. So as opposed to the Ben Roberts thing where people are just saying no to even a trial.
Yeah. I mean,
some of the criticism of that was fair enough.
Whether or not Pell was guilty of the charges he was found guilty on, he was certainly guilty of screwing the survivors over with the
what was that defense? Ellis defense.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess that's where we're at. Is that's a sort of evolution of thinking. That's some of the incidents that have occurred along the way. Moving forward, dear listener, yes, I need a break mentally, just to refresh. Just sort of cataloguing these disasters as they go along. Can't do it for a little while. Thinking to myself, maybe a podcast once a month. But I think I'm ready to try and write some things because, I know, for example, quite often we've talked about different topics and finding it in the podcast and then my notes are not so complete and remembering what the arguments were. Podcasts are not a great resource for looking up stuff. They're time-consuming to try and go back and find things. And sometimes when I sit in a cafe at Coolangatta and want to argue with a boomer about something, I'd just rather say, go to my blog post number 33, which is on capital gains tax, which explains how that and other factors have increased the cost of housing, and you're a privileged boomer and it's a bad idea for the rest of us. And rather than saying, well, you have to see episode 45, 51, 103 and 63, and we've commented on it at these different points, I think I want to consolidate things into some written format and maybe just have a go at a little bit of commentary, a bit of fun to it, a little bit of quirkiness. I can write with a sense of humour when I've done sort of travel blogs. So
I thought you were going to say when you've done drugs.
yes. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. So yeah, Shailene says there's just too many boomers on the Gold Coast. Maybe it's an area to avoid for a while, yeah.
And John has actually suggested what I was thinking, which is maybe we should have a forum, you know, from time to time where we can get in and thrash out the latest news, politics.
Well, we do have a Discord. I haven't really been on there often enough. Get in contact via the Facebook page, which has a link to I think the show notes have had a link to the Discord page. If you're interested, dear listener, in some discussions, get in contact and we'll put you all together somehow. But anyway, if you're a patron, hang in there. There might be something coming up. If you are subscribing to this podcast, don't remove the feed, even though it might be inactive for a few months, because sometime in maybe 3 months or something, you'll look at your podcast feed and boom, there'll be an episode 501 of the
If
Iron
you're a
Fist of the Profit
patron
Club. Yes.
and you're on Discord, it should have automatically added you onto our Discord server anyway.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, we'll have a break, and who knows what we'll come up with at the end. But to all of those who have supported along the way to this point, thank you very much. And unless you guys have got anything else to say, forgot to mention Landon Hardbottom.
Oh, he's back.
Yes.
Yes, we did have Landon providing commentary along the way until Landon got one of the episodes banned from YouTube because he made a comical reference to I can't even say it for fear of having this one banned. But yes,
but that was very
made a
amusing,
reference, which was
to
amusing and not in the least.
A lava-filled volcano, wasn't it?
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right. Well, that's all for a while. See you in a few months with something. Bye for now.
And it's a good night from me.
And it's a good night from him.
Good night.